Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in January. Let's do it. So in the month of January I read 4 books, and that's pretty much my average. I read about a book a week during the work week and things like that. I used to read a book on my Kindle, a physical, and I listened to a book, but I actually slowed down a little bit this year, and I've just been reading on my Kindle before I go to bed, and it's been really delightful. So the first book that I read in 2025 was Corrupt by Penelope Douglas, and that is the first book in the Devil's Night series. And I actually picked this book up because my girl is Sophia, I don't know how to say her last name, but it starts with a P, and I love her so much. I follow her on TikTok and YouTube. If you guys don't follow her, please do. She talks a lot about just health and wellness and like the menstrual cycle. And then of course she reads books too. She's a book girly. She talks non-stop about this series. She read the series already, and then she was listening to the series for the second time. And I was like, all right, this girl, she loves it so much. I gotta give it a chance. I hate to say it, but I didn't like it. Ooh, I give the book 2 stars. It was not that good to me. I was just like, to tell you the truth, I can't even remember everything that happened in the book. That's how much it was like not memorable to me. It was not good. I wish I knew what to tell you guys about the book, but I just didn't like it, and I guess that says something about the book. But when I did read more about it, like reviews and things like that, they said that the first book was horrible and that the rest of the books were better. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I really don't have time to just like read a book just cause, like, I don't know. And so I started reading the second book, and then I started slowing down on reading, and I was like, look, I'm here to read books that I enjoy, and I don't want to read this just because I feel forced to read this. No one's forcing me, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to read it. I wanted to know what she was talking about. I just was like, I can't. I want to read enjoyable books for me right now. Oh my gosh, it's close to dinner time, so my cat is gonna keep trying to jump on me. It's like he missed like 5 meals, and it's like, bro, you ate less than 12 hours ago. Stop it. Really, I'm just like trying to focus on everything that truly makes me happy mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. And that series was not working with me. Second book that I read was the last one, At the Wedding by Jason. Okay, look, I gotta look at his name. Reklud, I don't know, starts with the R. But he also wrote Hidden Pictures, which went super viral on TikTok or on Book Talk. And I ate that book up. I absolutely love that book. I was obsessed with it. I made my coworker read it. And then my coworker bought her mom a copy of the book and sent it to her in New York so that she can read it, because that's how much she liked it too. And I was just like, okay, look, this book is so good. Hidden Pictures was so good. If you guys haven't read it, please read it. It's one of my favorite books of 2024. I really think that book needs to be a Netflix movie. But so I was like, oh, okay. You know how like on Kindle, if you don't have a Kindle, they have ads that pop up on the screen while the screen is basically like locked and not being used. And I love it. Like, you can pay extra to not have ads, but I love the ads because it lets me know kind of the new releases and just like gets me thinking of other books maybe I wouldn't have thought of, because I would have never picked this book up. An ad for that book came up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the author of Hidden Pictures. And it wasn't out yet, but then finally I saw that it was out. Like, I am so freaking reading that book because it was the same author. That book followed a father and a daughter and their relationship, along with the tia, or I guess auntie, sorry, I call them tias, but the dad's sister, and mom passed away, so you know, auntie's there for the daughter, and they're kind of like when they're a small little family falling outs, and their relationship gets kind of tested at one point. But the daughter is then going to get married, and so she invites her father to come to the wedding. He's like, oh my gosh, yes, of course, like I will be there. And I just love the dad. Okay, so I had a kind of a stock full of Audible credits that were like lining up because I just didn't have time to listen to a book at the end of the year. And so it was really exciting. So I had like 3 credits, and one of the credits I used was to get this book, and I loved listening to it. I don't know if it makes a difference because I obviously didn't read the physical, but I recommend listening to this book because the dad just sounded like a sweet, like old man, not old, but just like older, more mature man in like his voice. And I was like, that voice actor did such a freaking good job. I just felt like I was listening to like, maybe, I don't want to say my grandpa because he's like not that old, but like in that realm of just, it was just really nice to listen to that voice, especially after me losing my grandpa last month, well, in December. I don't know, it was just very comforting. It was that comforting parent voice, you know, and wiser voice. There's just a whole bunch of fishy things that happen, and you know, dad is questioning a lot of things. He's not sure about this fiance that she's marrying. And, you know, he's dad. He doesn't care what happened in the past. He's there for his daughter, and he doesn't really feel right about this marriage. So he's trying to bring it up to his daughter, and she's kind of just like giving him the cold shoulder about it and just like, it's fine, it's fine. And then just some major twists happen, and it just was so well written. Like, you are locked in the whole time. You want to know what's happening. You're never bored. Nothing is just placed there just as a placeholder. I learned that I kind of hate that about certain books. Like, don't deter me into a different, like, to like a dead end. Like, I don't want a dead end. I want like steps of figuring out things. Like maybe that wasn't the answer, but you found something else out, so you're just like constantly intrigued the whole time. And Jason does that so freaking well. And look, I'm a girl that likes spice. Almost all my books have at least one scene of spice in it. Zero spice in this book. This book was so good. I was just all, obviously I wasn't flipping the page, but I was just listening to this book. And it was so funny because the whole time I was listening to this book, I was like, no, oh my gosh, no, they didn't. And like kind of like making those noises to Tyler, because I was just like, this book is so good. Like, I would be cooking dinner, and like sometimes I try not to listen to books so I can like hang out with my boyfriend instead of like closing off the world. I told him, I was like, my book is so good, I gotta keep listening to it. And he was like, yeah, listen to your book. I mean, it was really freaking good. It was more like a mystery, and I haven't really read a lot of mystery books. I've read a lot of thriller books, and I just truly enjoyed this book and highly recommend it. And I rated it 5 stars. I think when I was looking back at it, like before I started this video, I was like maybe a 4.5, but like I think it deserves the 5 stars because like just the writing style, no, I really enjoyed it. And I am like a Jason stan all of a sudden. Like, he writes another book, I'm gonna read it. And I also am thinking of like looking back and reading like any of the other books that he's written in the past, but I have so many other books I'm reading, so like I was like, okay, maybe if I'm bored and I want to jump back into his writing style, I'll like definitely research it. I feel like I can trust him as a writer, and I would probably pick up any book that he writes. That's how good both those books were. All right, that was good. We went from a 2-star to a 5-star. I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't want to read a book just because somebody else likes it. Like, maybe when you guys don't like the Jason books that I told you guys about, that's okay, but I loved it and I truly enjoyed it, and I want to continue reading things I truly enjoyed. And I love Penelope Douglas, but I just didn't care that much for that series. So like maybe I'll pick it up eventually when I'm feeling down to do it. I'm not against it. I'm gonna give it a try. I just was like, I need some pick-me-ups right now to keep me going. We can't start off the year like that, okay? So the next book that I read was Keep Me by Sarah Kate. Again, this was a new release by Sarah Kate. Last year I read the Salacious Players Club series. Y'all, spiciest book I've ever read, spiciest series I ever read. I was like, oh my gosh, that series like marked off spice for me for the whole year. I spread it out throughout the whole year. It was, I think, 5 or 6 books, and they were about these group of friends that opened up an S club, and just each character and their love life, their kinks, I guess you could say, and it was really good. Even if there were some of them I was like, maybe I wouldn't do that, but I was still intrigued the whole time about all of the stories and the relationships, and just like getting to know different things that other people like, because just because I don't like something doesn't mean someone else can't like it, or just because I like something doesn't mean someone else won't like it, you know? I think that's what makes us special as a world and as humans, because we all have our individual likes and dislikes, and I think that everybody should own that, because if we didn't have that, and I tell this to people all the time, we would literally just be robots. So be you and like what you like. It's okay if 2 people who like each other like 2 different things. That's okay. And so anyways, I really loved that series. And so again, it was kind of like, wow, well, I trust Sarah Kate and her spice, so like, let me pick up this book. And this book followed 2 characters. Let me tell you, I gave this book 3 stars. Not bad, not my favorite, but not as bad as Corrupt. So I was like, I'll take it. And so it was about an American girl and a Scottish man. The Scottish man, his family is pretty like highly known, and I want to say that they're like almost like royalty, but not like, I can't remember if they're like royalty or if they're just famous. But basically the son has been kind of going through it, and he kind of was giving the family a bad reputation. So he was partying all the time. Like, they have this beautiful castle in, I believe, Scotland. I believe so. I don't know if I'm making that up, but somewhere like that. And he would throw parties all the time, and they would end up being like S parties. They didn't describe any of that, but basically he was putting a bad name to the family. There's a whole thing as to like how those two kind of came in contact with each other. You guys can read that. When she goes back home, the sister of the Scottish guy asks her to marry her brother so that it would then put a better reputation on the family and hopefully like calm him down from doing all his not so good things, I guess. And if she did that, she would get something in return. Obviously, you know, the girl's like, okay. And it's just like any other fake dating situation, fake proposal, fake engagement. Like, it's kind of like same old, just different situation. There's a Scottish guy. That was kind of cool because they were in Scotland and all that kind of stuff. He's definitely the grump. She's the sunshine, I guess you could say. And I enjoyed it, but I wasn't obsessed with it. It wasn't making me like super excited. The spice was good, but you really didn't get it until way at the end. So when I read Fall I Want, and that was a fake dating situation, there was so much tension between these two people. Like, they were meant to be, and I was obsessed with it. I was eating it up, okay? This one, they just didn't like each other. And so for me, it was kind of hard to like follow along. I was like, okay, when are they gonna start liking each other? Because like, obviously they're gonna like each other. Like, that's the kind of book this is. When they finally liked each other and they had love for each other, that's when I loved the book. The spice was good, but it was like, if anything, since it was a Sarah Kate book, I kind of was expecting more of it. So it was a little bit underwhelming in that sense, but I didn't hate it. It just was like, meh, you know? So that's why I gave it a 3. So at this point, my boyfriend was like, I haven't really heard you say that you're like loving books right now. Is that like a last year thing? And I was like, oh, don't you dare. Don't you freaking dare say that to me. I was like, okay, I gotta find a book that makes me so excited, so obsessed, ignites this reading passion back in me. Because it wasn't like I wasn't liking reading. I still loved it, but I was choosing to kind of scroll at night or play Pal World instead of reading. And I saved this one in the bag for the time that I needed it, as it was going to be a savior to my passion of reading. And so then I pulled out the good old Chestnut Springs series. And if you guys don't know, because I posted this on my TikTok, I am absolutely obsessed with that series, and I tried to spread it out as long as I could because I didn't want it to finish. And so last year I saved the 5th book, and I pulled out Hopeless, the 5th book in the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. If you guys don't know, I love Elsie Silver. Oh my gosh, she's another author that I trust every book that she writes because look, let me tell you, my eyes are gonna water because like, that's how much I love her books. Over the year, I've learned that I am definitely a romance girly, but it has to be done right. And let me tell you, Elsie Silver does it right. The characters are so good. You can connect to a character some way, somehow. The banter is so good. The spice is good. Just like the life and the scenery is amazing. The way that everything always ties together is so good. The situations, they kind of may be like almost the same thing, but she does them so differently because each character is so different. And then of course they always end up together at the end, which is lovely, but just their connection, you can always feel it through the book. And I am obsessed. I was thinking, because I was like writing down the books that the topics that I wanted to film about for today, and one of the things was going to be about what's my favorite series. And yep, the Chestnut Springs series. I will be rereading that when I really am like maybe in a book slump, or I'm just like unsure of what to read and I can't find anything good. That is always going to be my go-to, and I a million % recommend it. Like, if you don't read anything else, please read her books. They're really good. I also just got Wild Love, which is her newest series. I don't know what the series is called, but the first book of the series is called Wild Love. I got that as a gift from one of my girlies on Book Talk. I can't wait to read it. I'm gonna read that, but I'm gonna give myself a break because I was like, I don't know if because I paused and then I picked it up that I was so obsessed with this book. So I'm gonna read like a couple books and then pick up Wild Love. I I like to make Elsie Silver books just like the highlight of my reading month. Like she does it every single time, and it just like never not, it happens every single time. I can't help it. The good thing about this book is that it ties all of the people together, and you get updates from the other books in this book. So maybe that's why I made this book even better. I was just like, I love this. It's like a reunion for Chestnut Springs. It was amazing. About 2 characters. Bo, one of the brothers, he was in the military, and he had this whole situation happen where he was basically missing for a while, and I don't want to tell the story as to like why he was missing, because I thought that was a great, like, it shows his character really well, and it was really nice to read when I was reading it, so I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But when you find out why he was missing, it just made you really understand the type of person that he is, and I just loved it, of course. And then Bailey, unfortunately, her family is kind of like the trashy family of the small town of Chestnut Springs, and you get to learn her more as well, because it was like one of those situations where she was just born into the wrong family. She's such a sweetheart. She's such a caring person. She's such a funny character. Like, I would choose her to be one of my friends. Like, I really enjoyed getting to know her. Kind of like both these characters really didn't think highly of themselves, but when they came together, they really uplifted each other, and it's so sweet. I felt like I was there with them watching. When I was reading this book, I was giggling out loud, like literally. My boyfriend would be like playing video games, and then I just start giggling. He's like, what? Like, he thought maybe I was like laughing at his game. I was like, oh, my book. And he's like, oh. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I would reread that book like today. That's how good it was. Another thing too, the tension, the banter, the spice, the connection. Hot fire is so good. It's so undeniable, and just the sweet things they did for each other. I'm the type of person, I guess one of my love languages is like, I don't know exactly what to categorize it as a love language, but I love when people just do things for me as like, because they care. I'm not talking about like take the trash out. I'm talking about like, I had a long day at work. This is what Tyler does. I'm like, let me give you guys an example. I had a long day at work, and maybe it's like my 3rd long day at work. Plus I was on call one of those days, and I come home and I'm just like, it's like 9:30, and I'm just like, all right, I gotta come home. I gotta make us dinner. Because Tyler really is not a cooking person, and so I do a lot of the cooking, and I'm like, okay, I just gotta like work through it. And I'm like, I get home and I'm like, okay, I just gotta cook really quick. I'm gonna do a quick meal, and there's food sitting on the counter for me, and I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even ask. Like, don't ask me. Like, if he would have asked me like, what do I want, I'd have been like, I don't know, I can't think. But instead he just gets something that he knows I like, and it's there, and I don't even have to think. And it's things like that that mean a lot to me, and that just shows that you care about the person, right? Like, you care about them enough to do something like that and kind of like think for them in the moment that they can't think. And so there's moments like that in the book that I really love. Okay, I just want to say one thing. I hope it's not a spoiler for you guys, but like one thing that really stands out to me is when Bailey was worried about her brothers finding her. She didn't want to go back to her house because they kind of live pretty close to each other, and there's like this little lake in between their houses. She's like hiding in the like bushes by the lake, and so then Bo goes over and finds her, and he's like, she's like, shh, like be quiet, and he's like, what? And then he notices like obviously the brothers are out there looking for her, and she's hiding, and they go away, and he's like, you know, you can just like come stay in my house. She's like, no, I don't want to. And she's very independent. She's like, I don't want anyone to help me. I understand, I'm just like that. So another way that I can connect to the characters. He's like, okay, well then, and he was like, sorry, you're gonna go back to your house? And she was like, no, it's not gonna be safe for me. And he was like, well, I'll go there. And she's like, no, I don't want to go back, I'm gonna stay right here. And he's like, okay, well, I guess that we're spending the night here. So they're literally on the ground next to this lake and by bushes and things like that. He lays down and they fall asleep together. And I'm just like, so cute, so sweet. And you know, it's those actions that you don't even have to think about doing. You're not like, oh my gosh, I gotta do this for this person. You're just like, okay, well, I'm gonna be here for you no matter what. And it's so natural for you to just do it because your love is radiating through everything you do for this person. That's what the feelings that I got from this book, and I just loved it so much. Like, I would give this book 6 stars, but I marked it as 5 stars, And yeah, I'm gonna stop jabbling about that book, but let me tell you, that made my month. That made me so excited to read again. Not that I wasn't excited to read, I was having a good time, but it was just like, wow, what a way to end the month with such a bang. Out of all the books I read the month, that was my favorite book. You guys have to read that book. Please tell me that you're gonna read that book, and when you do, please let me know if you loved it or not and what book was your favorite. Those are the books that I read in the month of January. I feel like I had a pretty good reading month and a pretty good mixture of books to read. I also pre-ordered The Crash by Frida McFadden a while back, I think November, December, and I downloaded that and I started it, but I didn't finish it yet. I'll keep you guys updated on that. If you guys have any recommendations on what you would like for me to read or what your guys' favorite books are, please let me know. I love you all and happy reading.